A shocking clue may have just changed everything. For weeks, we had been watching the fallout of the Spoon Island tragedy, the arrest of Jen Sidwell, and the shifting power dynamics within the WSB. On the surface, it looks like the good guys finally won. Sidwell's behind bars, Sonny Corinthos took him down by revealing the truth about Marco Rios, and the streets of Port Charles are supposed to be safe again. But something isn't adding up anymore. The silence in the criminal underworld is entirely too loud. The victory feels entirely too easy. If you have been watching this show as long as I have, you know that a villain with the immense resources and the brutally bruised ego of Jen Sidwell does not just sit quietly in a maximum security cell and accept defeat. He is plotting. He is waiting in the dark. And a new detail could expose the truth about exactly what is coming our way. We may be looking at the beginning of something huge, a storyline that will fundamentally alter the lives of several major characters and leave a permanent scar on the canvas. Let us start by looking at the clue that sparked this entire investigation. We have to talk about the sudden, highly suspicious arrival of the mysterious businessman known only as Hudson. When Hudson first stepped foot into Port Charles, he claimed to be looking for someone specific. But his mere presence sent immediate shockwaves through the underground. The biggest red flag? Ethan Lovett. Ethan, who was right in the middle of a lucrative scheme blackmailing Ava Jerome over the true paternity of Phoebe Wilson, took one look at the shifting tides and immediately fled town. Ethan is a seasoned survivor. He does not run unless the threat is absolutely lethal. So, what makes Hudson so terrifying? That is where things become interesting. I do not believe for 1 second that Hudson is just an independent operator looking to settle a minor score. If you ask me, Hudson is the scout. He is the advance guard for an alliance that is being forged in the shadows, an alliance designed to tear Port Charles apart. And this brings us to the missing link, the phantom menace that we all know is lurking just out of sight, Pascal. We know Pascal has a dark history of violence, a relentless thirst for revenge, and a deep-seated hatred for anyone who stands in his way. I am officially predicting that Pascal is about to make a shocking return to Port Charles. But he is not coming back just to settle some petty personal vendettas or cause random chaos. He is thinking bigger. Much bigger. Pascal has the underground connections, the tactical mind, and the sheer ruthlessness required to pull off the impossible. If you connect the dots, it becomes terrifyingly clear. Pascal and Hudson are not working independently. They are the outside operatives for the man pulling the strings from the inside, Jen Sidwell. Let us really break this down and connect the pieces. If this detail is true, if Hudson is working with Pascal, it could explain a lot about the sudden shift in the atmosphere of the city. Sidwell is currently locked up, stewing in his own rage after Sonny Corinthos completely outplayed him. But a man like Sidwell, an international criminal mastermind, always has contingency plans. He needs a way out, and he needs a team capable of executing a flawless, highly violent prison break. Pascal is the architect of that breakout. Hudson is the eyes and ears on the ground in Port Charles, gathering intelligence and monitoring targets. Together, these three men form a dark, lethal triad. But once Sidwell is free, they are not just going to run away and hide on a private island. That is not how Sidwell operates. He is a man driven by ego and vengeance. He needs to eliminate the immediate threats to his global operations before he can rebuild. So, who are the biggest threats to Jen Sidwell's freedom and his empire? Who has the power, the knowledge, and the connections to put him right back in a cell, or worse, put a bullet in his head? The answer points directly to two people, Jack Brennan and Jocelyn Jacks. It may not be a coincidence that both of these characters have been heavily involved in the WSB drama lately. Sidwell knows that Brennan is a former and perhaps current heavy hitter within the WSB. Brennan has access to classified intelligence, hidden black boxes, and a vast network of spies that could dismantle Sidwell's remaining assets in a matter of days. Sidwell views Brennan as a massive loose end that must be tied up permanently. If Brennan is allowed to operate freely, Sidwell's life is in constant jeopardy. Brennan's very existence is a threat to everything Sidwell stands for. And then there is Jocelyn Jacks. We need to take a long, hard look at what Jocelyn has been doing lately. She is no longer just Carly Spencer's daughter or a college student playing detective. Jocelyn has fully immersed herself in the dangerous, bloody waters of the WSB. She survived the terrifying hostage situation at Windermere. She took a bullet on Spoon Island during the chaos. And most importantly, she just brokered a massive, highly illegal secret deal with WSB head Z. Jocelyn single-handedly framed the deceased Cassius Phazon for Ross Cullum's crimes to secure pardons for Jason Morgan and Valentine Cassadine. Do you realize the magnitude of that move? Jocelyn is now a major player. She has the ear of the head of the WSB. Sidwell cannot afford to have a young, fearless, and highly connected operative like Jocelyn coming after him. In his mind, Jocelyn and Brennan are the two pillars of his potential destruction. They have to be eliminated immediately. This leads us to the big reveal, the massive theory that could serve as the emotional focal point of the entire season. I believe we are about to witness a highly coordinated, devastating strike by Sidwell, Pascal, and Hudson. It will start with the prison break. Pascal will utilize explosives, bribes, and brute force to shatter Sidwell's cage. Once Sidwell is breathing free air, the triad will immediately pivot to phase 2, the abduction. I am picturing a chilling sequence of events. Jocelyn and Brennan, perhaps crossing paths by chance, or perhaps lured into a trap under the guise of WSB business, will be ambushed. Hudson and Pascal will execute a flawless tactical takedown, neutralizing any security and dragging Jocelyn and Brennan into the darkness before anyone even realizes they are missing. Imagine the sheer terror of that scenario. Jocelyn and Brennan, bound and gagged, waking up in a remote soundproof location. Jen Sidwell pacing in front of them, his eyes burning with absolute malice. Sidwell does not just want to kill them quietly in an alley. He wants to use them. He wants to send a bloody, unmistakable message to Head Z and the entire WSB. I am untouchable, and if you come for me, your people will die in agony. The psychological warfare in that room would be off the charts. Sidwell taunting Jocelyn about her mother, mocking Brennan about his fallen status and his desperate search for leverage. Brennan, ever the stoic manipulator, calculating every single angle, desperately looking for a weakness in Pascal and Hudson's defenses. Jocelyn, terrified but defiant, refusing to give Sidwell the satisfaction of seeing her break. But the bigger question is, how does this end? Because if you have been paying attention to the behind-the-scenes whispers and the contract rumors, there is a massive piece of information floating around the fandom. There is a strong possibility that Jack Brennan's time in Port Charles is coming to an end, specifically around early September. If that rumor holds any weight, the writers have to give him an exit worthy of his character. Brennan is a rogue, a villain with a twisted sense of honor, a man who is currently trying to build a life with Nina Reeves. He cannot just fade into the background or get transferred to a desk job in Berlin. He needs a spectacular, unforgettable exit. And that is where this theory turns into an absolute tragedy. I believe Brennan is going to realize that Sidwell has no intention of letting either of them live. The execution is imminent. In that desperate final hour, Brennan will do the unthinkable. He will find a vulnerability. Maybe a loose binding. Maybe a moment of arrogance from Hudson, or a distraction caused by Pascal. Brennan will strike, but he won't strike to save himself. He will strike to create a window for Jocelyn. I can see the scene playing out in slow motion. Brennan overpowering one of the guards, grabbing a weapon, and screaming at Jocelyn to run. He knows he cannot outrun the bullets. He knows that if they both try to escape, they both die. So he makes the ultimate heartbreaking sacrifice. Brennan will stand his ground, a lone wolf facing down Sidwell, Pascal, and Hudson. He will lay down, suppressing fire, taking multiple hits, his body absorbing the devastating damage that was meant for Jocelyn. He will fight with the ferocity of a man who has nothing left to lose, buying Jocelyn the precious seconds she needs to disappear into the night. It will be a brutal, agonizing standoff. Brennan will not fall easily, but eventually the sheer numbers and firepower will overwhelm him. He will die on that cold floor, not as a manipulative WSB agent looking for a black box, but as a hero who traded his life for the future of a young woman. It would be a poetic, devastating end to his arc, cementing his legacy in Port Charles forever. If this theory is true, the aftermath will be catastrophic. Let us talk about who will lose everything. Jocelyn will survive, yes, but at what cost? She will be physically battered and psychologically shattered. The trauma of watching a man be torn apart by gunfire just so she could live will haunt her forever. She will carry the immense, crushing weight of survivor's guilt. Carly Spencer will completely unravel. The realization that her daughter was inches away from a gruesome execution will send Carly into a spiral of overprotection and rage. She will demand blood. And what about Nina Reeves? Nina, who is finally finding her footing, who just saved Brennan from an assassin and is falling deeply in love with his charm and danger. Nina will be absolutely destroyed. The loss of Brennan will shatter her world, potentially pushing her back into her darkest, most vindictive habits. But the personal tragedy is only half of the fallout. The professional ramifications will ignite a global conflict. The WSB will not sit idly by while one of their most prominent operatives is slaughtered by a fugitive. Headsey will view Brennan's murder as a direct act of war. The entire intelligence apparatus will be mobilized. Port Charles will become ground zero for the largest, most violent manhunt in WSB history. Sidwell, Pascal, and Hudson will realize too late that by killing Brennan, they did not eliminate a threat. They awakened a sleeping giant. The WSB's retaliation will be swift, merciless, and absolute. Jocelyn will transform from a victim into the WSB's star witness, the only person who can identify the killers and detail their operations, putting an even bigger target on her back. We may be looking at the beginning of a bloodbath that will consume everyone in its path. The lines between hero and villain are about to be erased entirely. If Sidwell is planning this breakout, if Pascal and Hudson are truly forming this unholy alliance, then no one in Port Charles is safe. The truth could be closer than anyone realizes, hiding in the shadows of the docks and the quiet corners of the hospital. Someone may not be ready for what's coming next, but the storm is gathering, and it is bringing absolute devastation with it. Keep your eyes peeled, guys, because this show is about to go into overdrive.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.